Hello and welcome to the hashtag Here to Hear Keeping It 100 podcast. My name is Damon Naylor and I'll be serving as the host. I am the NAFCM media guru and I'm joined by my co-host DG Mon, the president of NAFCM. What's going on, DG?
Hey, Damon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. Just excited about hanging out with you again and our outstanding guest. Today, as you know, we have a phenomenal guest, Tracey Frisch, located in New York, New York. Tracey is the executive director of the AAA-ICDR Foundation. And without further ado, we're going to bring her in and chat with her, DG.
I'm looking forward to that ray of light.
Welcome, Tracey. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome, and we're so delighted to have you. And we share just a tidbit about your background with the audience, and we're going to turn it over to you and allow you to share anything else you would like them to know.
Great, fabulous. Thank you. I'll just say talking about the AAA-ICDR Foundation is my favorite topic. So I really appreciate you having me, and I appreciate all the work that you all do through NAFCM, some of which has been funded by the foundation. So maybe we'll have a chance to talk about that as well.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, just jumping right into it, you seem so passionate about the organization. Kind of give us a little overview of AAA.
So the American Arbitration Association International Center for Dispute Resolution Foundation, I refer to it as the AAA-ICDR Foundation, started in 2015. And since then, it's granted over $11.2 million to 166 different projects. We've done so with the generous support of the American Arbitration Association and the association's panel of arbitrators and mediators, who together have provided over $15 million in monetary and in-kind contributions to the foundation. The foundation's mission is to support the prevention and resolution of conflicts by expanding access to alternative dispute resolution. And we do that through three priority areas: prevent and reduce violence with a focus on vulnerable and underserved communities and police social service partnerships; bridge community conflict with a focus on civil discourse seeking to mend societal divisions; and support diversity, equity, and inclusion with a focus on access to justice. And we provide grants in these three priority areas through four different granting types. We have four programs. One is our annual grant cycle. It's an open call starting in mid-June of each year for organizations to apply for grants that align with the foundation's mission in those three priorities I mentioned. We have special initiative grants, which are board initiated for organizations that align with the foundation's mission and special initiative goals outside of the annual grant cycle. So we might see something in an annual grant cycle that we really want to help grow, and that might become one of these special initiative grants. And for these grant types, potential grantees are identified by the foundation's board to apply. Unlike the annual grant cycle, it's not an open call. We have our rapid response grants, and those support critical programs outside of the annual grant cycle through grants to organizations whose work fits the foundation's mission and addresses current issues. So if the foundation boards sees something that we think is happening right now that we think that ADR could help address, we might open up a rapid response grant, for that topic. And then we have our diversity scholarships, which fall under two categories. One, we have grants that support diverse students and professionals with up to $2,000 in financial assistance towards participation in ADR educational programs. So this could be continuing your education in ADR. It could be attending a conference, a training. And then in addition to these individualized grants, the foundation has established diversity scholarships at Howard University and North Carolina Central University, two historically Black colleges and universities that offer certificates and dispute resolution programs in their law schools. And both scholarships involve a commitment of $50,000 annually to students enrolled in those schools and their law schools who are seeking those certificates in dispute resolution. And those scholarship recipients are selected yearly by each law school. If you want to learn more, to apply for a grant, learn more about us, you can visit our website, AAA-ICDRfoundation.org. And to stay up to date, you can please follow us on LinkedIn. So that's my general overview of the foundation.
wonderful. You guys are doing amazing work, and just so happy to be connected with you. And I guess the next question will be, what motivated you guys to start the AAA-ICDR Foundation? You know, why was it started in 2015?
That's a great question. So the AAA itself is a non-for-profit. So when it has a surplus, you know, it's like, what do you do as a non-for-profit with a surplus, right? You don't pay your board, you can't, you know, invest all this money, you know, in bonuses and things like that. As a non-for-profit, you have to reinvest the money somewhere. So we figured, what better way to reinvest these funds than to start a foundation, you know, and be able to take those funds and really do good with it, you know, and advance ADR in a way that, you know, the AAA itself, we administer arbitrations and mediations and other ADR services, but the organizations that are funded through the foundation are really taking conflict resolution to a whole nother level, you know, are really taking it and innovating ways and uses of conflict resolution, you know, in communities really across the world.
All right, wonderful. So you guys are investing and sowing into individuals and organizations and just spreading your work there and, you know, supporting others, which is amazing. Within the last 9 years, how have things changed or shifted, I would say, with your organization?
The way that it's really changed is the impact that we've been able to have, as you see through the growth in the, you know, amount of granting that we've been able to do. You know, in 2015, when we started, I think our first grant cycle was in 2016, and we granted about $175,000. Most recently, we granted over $2.2 million.
And so, in thinking about those who are interested and qualified to submit grants, what are some components a strong and appealing grant should have? What are the nuts and bolts for that?
Yeah, so our annual grant cycle is where we receive the most applications. That's the open cycle where anyone can apply. And it's very competitive. Like this year, we received over 160 applications, and we end up granting usually, you know, sometimes less than 10, you know, so it really is important to stand out in that initial application. And some things that help you stand out are really showing us an ability to scale and expand. We like to see ourselves as seed money, you know, a way that we can fund and then see it grow. You know, we're not an organization like that sustains another organization year after year after year. You know, we want to come in, help you create something that can then have a life of its own. So we do fund multi-year grants. That, you know, that's something we absolutely do. But we want to see that, like, after our investment, after our grant is over, you have a way, you know, to sort of sustain this work. So that ability to scale, that ability to expand, and also something that we very much look for is, how are you measuring impact, right? So you can tell us we did what we set out to do, and that's great. Obviously, that's the expectation. But so what? You know, so what impact is this having? And how are you going to measure that? Because I think that's something that's a much harder question than just being able to, oh, we trained this amount of people and, you know, this and that. It's like, okay, so what did that do? You know, this issue that you're really trying to address, how did you have an impact on that, right? How did that change because of this intervention, because of this work? You know, it might not be something that you can see after a year. It might not be something you can see after 2 years, right? But we very much look for, how are you going to measure this, you know, over time, and how are we really going to see that, you know, what you set out you accomplished?
So sustainability and impact, two main things that stick out.
Absolutely.
And I can only imagine your review process is pretty rigorous in order to, you know, select those that you do select.
Yes, it is. So we have a grants committee of the foundation, and they review every application. Our initial application is very simple. It's 2 pages. It's, who are you? What are you going to do? You know, we just really want to get a taste for, what are you looking to do with these funds, right? We don't expect everything to be fleshed out, but we do want to see something that looks achievable, right? That you're an organization that looks like you have a good track record, you can achieve this, and that what you're looking to do is achievable. And that, again, it's going to be on this scale, you know, that we're looking for, you know. It's wonderful if you can have a very deep impact in like a sort of a very narrow area. That's not as much as what we looked for. What we look for is, can you have a deep impact expansively, right? Something that you can take somewhere, create a pilot, test it a few places, roll it out, out on a broader scale. Those are really the programs that we're really looking to fund. So yes, every application gets reviewed. We have a scaling system. Sort of how do they measure impact, right? That's a big thing. Do they have the capacity to do this? Sort of what do we see as this like return on investment, that we're gonna see from this grant, among a few other things. So, we really do have a very detailed review process. And then we narrow it down to the applications that we really feel strongly about. And then those organizations are invited to submit a full proposal. So those are, the 20-page, 30, whatever, we want to see your financials. We want to see the letters of commitment from these organizations you say you have a relationship with. We want to see everything, and then it's from those more expanded proposals that we'll pick sort of the final grants that we'll invest in.
Super. Hey, DG, did you have any questions for Tracey?
I guess an initial question, Tracey, is this absolutely excites you. I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice. How does this feed you? What is that excitement that you're saying, I am so thrilled that I have this position, this role to do this work?
Yeah, I think part of it is, some of it is my background. So I was a peer mediator in high school. So I started off in this field at a very young age and fell in love. And then when I went to college, I saw some signs that said, oh, there's a competition to create a logo. I went to Tulane for the Tulane mediation team. So I called the number and I said, I'm not an artist, but I'm a mediator. And they're like, who are you? I was like, I'm a freshman. They're like, what? Our mediation team are, the vice dean of punishment and this administrator and that administrator. I'm like, well, who are you mediating? They're like, oh, student disputes, student faculty disputes. I'm like, don't you want students, to be part of that mediation team? So I got to, join that Tulane mediation team, got trained through the School of Social Work and then the law school, went out into the New Orleans community and taught conflict resolution in schools, and then wound up moving to New York and teaching conflict resolution and peer mediation in public schools in the Bronx and in and around New York City. So this is just really is something close to my heart. The community mediator, I was a community mediator in the Bronx and in Manhattan and Brooklyn. So I feel like this gets me back to sort of what led me into this field in the first place, sort of, the community aspect of mediation and really seeing the ability that conflict resolution has to really have an impact on these seemingly intractable issues, right, that we have in our society. And I just, always think, like, I read a story in the newspaper and I'm like, if they could just, sit, it's not kumbaya, it's not, oh, we're all going to agree, but like, can at least have a conversation. I feel like that's really missing. And so it gets me very excited to see these programs that are really, really innovating, and sort of how can conflict resolution in its various forms, really be utilized to make an impact in so many different areas.
What stands out for you that says, wow, this one that we funded was so innovative, or this one that we funded had this impact we weren't even anticipating? Are there Are you some favorite stories? I know
I have my
probably
favorite.
love all your children that you fund.
I love all of our grantees, and I encourage everyone to look at our website and see all the fabulous things that we funded. But one of my favorite is definitely out of Dayton, Ohio. It's the Dayton Mediation Center. You're nodding your head. I think you probably have seen something on it. We've done some programs about it. But this is really, it got its roots from a community mediation center in Dayton, Ohio, and looking at how can community mediation play a role in police response, right? And 911 dispatch calls. So, it was a pretty big leap of faith for the Dayton, community to jump in and say, okay, we're going to have community mediators. These are staff of this Dayton community mediation program plugged into the 911 dispatch system and have them respond to low-level 911 calls. So instead of having a police response to some of these calls that come into 911, you're having mediators show up. These calls that are a call that's come in many times from the same, neighbor dispute, or something like that, have a mediator show up and try and sort of field mediation happening. It's pretty innovative. And these mediators also show up with access to social service referrals. So it's not just sort of a police officer who shows up and really doesn't have time, right? They have a more, drastic calls to respond to. and they really can't give the time to these kind of disputes, whereas a mediator can come in and really help get in and follow up.
Now, I know you mentioned a center there, about a place that just was so impactful. Is there like an individual, maybe a couple of individuals who you guys have helped, especially with your funding, with them going to further the education with it? Is there anybody that sticks out that makes you say, look, this is why I do it? This person, their story is so touching, so magnificent, that this is why I do what I do. Is there anybody?
Yeah. So it's a group of people. We funded through our diversity scholarship. I mentioned those $2,000 scholarships that we can give to go to a conference, whatever. So we received an inquiry from an organization called Africa in the Moot. So every year there's this arbitration Viesmoot in Vienna, and it's a big deal. A lot of law schools send students there, and it's a great opportunity to meet other students, to get to sort of role play this international arbitration, meet a lot of big players in international arbitration, a wonderful networking opportunity. And so there was a group of students from a university in Africa who, was trying to go. They had a team, they were practicing. These students put so much effort, all of them, into practicing for this moot. Like, they spend hours and hours going over the problem and researching, and just the thought that like they wouldn't be able to get to Vienna, so we were able to help fund them to get the visas they needed and get the flights and go to Vienna and get to participate, in the Viesmoot. And I thought that was just wonderful. I loved. We got a lot of pictures and feedback, and it was really great. And it's something we're definitely looking forward to do as well. As more schools, from places who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford, to get to this event.
Awesome. Very touching. Very touching.
Yeah.
Well, this time always goes by so fast. And so just one last question I would have is just, where do you see AAA-ICDR Foundation in the next few years? Do you see you guys doing the same thing, just on a greater scale? Do you see you guys pivoting? What is your vision for the next few years for the foundation?
Yeah. So I think what we're going to see, I definitely think we'll see, growth. We are looking now at trying to think about even narrowing our focus as a way to really improving our impact. So, right now we have these three focused areas. There are three areas, but there's so much that could come under them. So we're going through an exercise now to think of like, okay, maybe it's not 100% of our funds, but a significant portion of our funds. Maybe we could focus in like one area, and then really be able to fund in that area and be able to measure the impact across grants. Because right now you can measure the impact grant to grant, but it's very difficult, to measure apples and oranges and see like what kind of impact are you having across the whole portfolio. So we are thinking this as a way to really increase our impact, to really move the needle, in one area using conflict resolution. So that is something I see coming in the future.
Okay, great. DG, any last minute remarks from you?
Just thank you for all you're doing to help advance the work of conflict resolution, and with a special anchoring, of course, with community mediation and your openness to applications from a variety of different organization sizes and types, with the idea of planting seeds and helping that grow. So I just want to express great appreciation for that.
It's truly my honor. It's such a pleasure to be able to do it. So thank you.
All right. Well, most importantly, Tracey, we thank you for keeping it 100. You've been a dynamic guest, and we just appreciate your time and your insight and sharing the wonderful information about AAA-ICDR Foundation. And so I know our viewers are going to love this video. So thanks again for coming on. We appreciate you, and take care and continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Same to you all. Thank you.